Welcome back. As the DEA cracks down on illegal drugs here in the Southland, a new law in Mexico is making it harder to do just that. This morning, our special guest is Bill Bodner, a special agent in charge of the DEA here in Los Angeles. Good morning, Bill. And once again, thank you for joining us. We have a lot of questions for you this morning. So in regards to that law, what is it and how will it affect cases in Los Angeles?
So a couple of points on the proposed law in Mexico. First off, it would limit the immunity that some of our Foreign Service special agents are granted, and that's a bit strange. The second thing is it would actually add a bit of bureaucracy and formalization to the information sharing process. And you might think, oh, that's a good thing, but what that does is that slows down the exchange of information. What the long-term impact of this will be, it's too early to tell. But what I can say is it's not good for the people of the United States. It's not good for the people of Mexico. Here's what we need. Our problem is drugs coming north across the border. We need seamless, timely cooperation with the Mexican government to address these problems. Now, the problem that the Mexican government has is guns and cash going south. These guns are getting into the hands of cartel members. They're fueling the current violence epidemic in Mexico. And the cash that goes down there, what is that used for? That's used to corrupt and to bribe some of the people in Mexico. So they have a vested interest in information sharing too. And I think whatever new guidelines they put in place, it should be done with an eye to improve the flow of information between our two governments and not to restrict it.
Okay, well, how are you working to address this?
I mean, it's most of it is something that's going to have to be done through the Department of State. We have trusted people in Mexico that we work with, and we're continuing to share information. We're continuing to work with them on a daily basis. And right now, we actually have some high-level things that we're doing with the government of Mexico. So we are working with them. It's just it's going to be a feeling out process until we see what problems this creates for us and how it makes life a little more difficult for us, but it will make life more difficult for us.
Wow. Okay. Your agents have targeted the Sinaloa cartel and their counterparts here in the Southland. What can you tell us about that operation? We understand you had some success in November.
Sure. So this is an investigation that we started last January, and recently in November, the investigators, DEA special agents and local investigators put together their investigative information and applied for 2 warrants with a judge. The warrants were granted, the warrants were served, and 165 pounds of meth and $300,000 was seized. But more significantly, and really worth noting, is 23 semi-automatic rifles were seized. And this was a situation where these guns were destined for Mexico. This was the Sinaloa cartel planning to take these guns down to Mexico, use them to commit violent acts and terrorize the people of Mexico. When we learned of the whereabouts of these guns, we obviously immediately had to get them off the street. Another thing worth noting is, these guns are obviously, it shouldn't surprise anyone, not in compliance with California's state gun laws. And this is just another example of criminals not really caring what our state gun laws are. People that are going to commit violent acts with guns, they're not concerned if a particular gun is legal or illegal in California. They're going to obtain that gun on the black market and use it.
Okay. Has 2020 been any different at all for the DEA and your agents? And what are your goals for next year?
A great question. And I think like every American, right, 2020 has been very different and very challenging. On the drug front, we saw a tremendous increase in the number of counterfeit pharmaceutical pills coming into the United States. These are pills disguised to look like oxycodone, but they're really fentanyl. We seized over 700,000 of them this past year, and that's almost double what we seized the previous year. So going forward, one of our priorities is going to be to address the people selling these fentanyl pills that are resulting in overdose deaths, to make sure federal charges are filed against these people and they're held accountable. The other issue we have is methamphetamine. 7.5 tons of methamphetamine seized in the greater LA area in 2020. And what does that methamphetamine do? It exacerbates our homeless problem and the mental health crisis we see playing out on the streets here in LA. So we're going to make a real effort to push back on that. On the international level, it's all about Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG. That's the organization in Mexico that's pushing the drugs up here. We're going to continue in 2021 to target the leaders of that organization and try to bring them to justice in the United States. But even of equal importance, Giovanna, It's about quality of life in Los Angeles, and that's what DEA is fighting for. We're fighting to keep the quality of life here in Los Angeles.
Okay. Thank you once again, Bill Bodner, Special Agent in charge of the Los Angeles DEA. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for keeping us updated as well.
Thank you.